Yeah, guys, very good evening to all of you. Welcome in this Python programming. And I like to, first of all, thank you for joining me in this live online training. Many of you already know me. You have taken the sessions on Excel and, of course, on Excel VBA macros from me in the past. But many of the students who have joined for this Python, they just got to know me from their friends, right? So they haven't actually learned anything uh, as of now from me. So I welcome them also, and I like to actually talk about my teaching style, how I'm going to teach you, and what are we going to cover in this training, and then what are the basic questions which as a beginner which are going to confuse you a lot when you're going to search uh, something on Python, that you want to learn Python. So what are you going to learn in Python? What is a anaconda? What are the Python libraries? Or now what do you mean by the libraries? What is the IDEs like Jupyter Notebook, Pycharm, Thorny, Visual Studio Code? I'm sure you must have heard a lot about these things. I'm going to discuss all these points one by one, and I'm going to keep this very basic, because till the time we will not take a deep dive into Python, how to write the Python programs, right? How to write the loops, if statements, and what are the other things, how to handle the data using Python list, Python arrays, and the other terms also that you will learn obviously as we move forward in this. But I want to keep it very simple. Maybe a few of you have programming experience. As I said, that I know personally many of you who have learned VBA, but maybe some are starting this for the very first time. They don't have any programming experience. Okay, so that's perfectly fine. Okay, now first of all, I want to actually talk about that, why people are learning Python. Okay, and then what are the Python libraries, right? After that, I will show you what syllabus we have here, right? So in the very first month, what we are going to cover in this part number one, okay? And then there will be a part two, which is obviously going to be another course. There, what I'm going to cover, okay? So first of all, this is the course for the beginners, right? It does not mean that we are only talking about the basic things. No, we are talking about everything, but I will start everything from the very basic. So even if you don't have a programming experience, it is perfectly fine. But I just want that you should know basic Excel, like how to keep the data in Excel, how to sort the data, filter, and couple of Excel functions also, right? Even if you are familiar with the Google Sheet, which is a competitor of Microsoft Excel, uh, that's perfectly fine, right? Because our Python, we are learning this Python for basically data manipulation, data modifications, data analysis. Now, the first thing is that you must understand that what a Python can do, because you see, Python actually can not just do one thing; it can do lot of things. So I'm just going to, as I said, I'll try to keep this simple, right? For example, guys, with Python, you can also go and do the web development. Okay, you can create the websites, right? Yes, Python can do that, right? You can create the games also, right? You can use the Python for the games also. That's wonderful, isn't it? Well, you can also go and do the data analysis. So when I say the data analysis, I mean that complete analysis, data modification, data addition, subtraction, like you do in Excel, isn't it? Right? Or maybe you use some macros, or maybe in database you use MS Access. You make the queries over there, you write SQL, or if you are working on some database, right? SQL server, a big database, I mean to say, right? Because MS Access is called the mini database, right? So all that things we can do in Python also. That's wonderful, right? So what else we can do? Well, we can also go and do the web scraping. Now that's my one of the favorite thing. What is a web scraping? See, web development is basically creating a website, right? So you can create a website, right? Web scraping means the website is already there, but how do you get the information of the website? So it's basically to retrieve the information from the website. Like for example, if there is any form on the website or any file which you want to download, you do not want to do the manual thing, so how actually I can get the information from the website? There is some article on, let's say, a website, and you want that article to import in your Excel or maybe in text file, right? So that's called basically the web scraping. Then Python is also used for the machine learning, right? Where you go and write the big algorithms, okay? Big algorithms. So machine learning is something, it's a very big topic, very vast topic. Obviously we are not aiming in this the course that how we are going to actually learn the machine learning. No, I'm not teaching that, okay? So Python can do almost everything, as you can see here. Okay, so when I say machine learning, it's a very, again, as I said that, it's a very vast thing, right? Creating the algorithms and doing the mathematical calculations, all that stuff. So I'm just generalizing the things. Okay, so the point is that when you're going to actually learn the Python, you will have to choose one of these things. Or maybe, I mean, if you think that you are very much passionate about this programming, and you have enough time, and again, as I said that, you love doing it, you can learn everything also. But generally when people learn Python, they choose one or two things. That, for example, if you want to create some games, then your interest towards web development or data analysis uh, may not be that inclined. Okay, but again, I'm just giving you the idea. Okay, but people can learn everything. All right, so this is basically the thing. Then these the scientists and the researchers, they also use the Python, to basically solve the complex the calculations, right? So I should write a complex computations, right, in mathematics and physics. So Python is used there as well. Okay, a lot of, in fact, the companies, Google, YouTube, all these Apple, these companies also use the Python, right? Then yes, one of the another interesting thing that for the graphical presentation also, you go and use actually the Python. Okay, for the graphs, if you want to see the data, you want to visualize the data, like in Excel you have seen the graphs, or maybe you have heard about the Power BI, right, or Tableau. These are the business intelligence tools. So if somebody learns Python, then they can choose these specific fields, and then they can go and learn this as well, right? Now here comes the important part called the library. Guys, here comes the library. So what is a library actually, if I have to explain you in layman terms? Now let me give you the example of Excel and VBA, because Excel you all know, I know that, right? But even if you do not know VBA, it's fine. Excel VBA, I'm just giving an example. Okay, this session is not on VBA. You see, in Excel, when you go, you have the here a library called FX. I mean, if you click on the FX, you get to see here a tab which gives you the different categories. This is all about the Excel formulas. If I want only the financial formula, I have to see. So you can see that we have here only the financial formulas. If you want to see date and time functions, you have the date and time function, and so on. If you want to see some logical functions, then you see we have the if functions and all that. Python also uses the if function. So you can understand this as a library. Under each library, its members are there, its functions are there, which can help us in doing the different type of calculations. Like for example, logical means that logical will be based on the logics, where you're going to actually put the criterias. If you go and choose the library called engineering, then this is going to help you in the engineering. Honestly, I never use these engineering functions, but maybe people who I think are engineers who work in maybe automobile industry, I guess they might be using this, or oil and gas industry, right? So this is the lookup, right? So under the lookup library, you have these functions which are specifically for the lookup. Correct or not, right? Now this is just, I'm just giving you this an example. Even if you do not know this, these all different segments, you can always work on Excel if you know the formula. Like for example, if I just go and use the VLOOKUP formula in Excel, right? Now when I use the VLOOKUP formula, I don't have to really know that this formula is actually under the lookup library. I can just use it, right? But in the programming language, this is very important. In the Python, this is very important, that under which library I'm going to get what and what it is going to help me. Is that library going to help me to create my website, or to scrap my website, or to maybe create graphical presentations, or to do data analysis, or to create the games? So each of these things will use different libraries. Are you getting the point now? Because these are the libraries which are going to actually give you those functions which you can use. I should say, though the correct word is methods and properties, but I mean, it's like, I have to do some work. I have to create a game. So I want some pop-up to come in that game. I want to create some, that if somebody presses some particular button, then my that in the game, let's say there is some uh, cartoon, or I'm using some maybe animal, and the animal should start jumping, right? So jump is basically, what I'm saying is that it's called a kind of a function, a method, right? So this is where the libraries are used. Like for example, if you go in Excel VBA, right? What if I have to go and use this Excel VBA to deal with the text files, right? Now to deal with the Excel files, these text files, or maybe CSV files, or maybe folders, right? You know that. I mean, all of those who who have taken the training from me, they know that there is a library over here which is called Microsoft Scripting Library. Okay, and look at this. Now this is a library which is used to connect with the database, right? So let me just go down. So these are all the libraries. Now these libraries are in Excel, in VBA, the macros, right? For example, this is the Internet Control Library. This is to use the Internet Explorer as a main explorer, and then you can scrap the websites. Like as I said, in Python also you can do the web scrapping. VBA also supports the web scrapping, right? So if you go down, so this is the library basically which you use. So you just click on this and then say okay, and this library is ready to use. If you want to use this with the SharePoint, right? So we can use the SharePoint as well. And then down the line there are a lot of other libraries which helps us in connecting with the Microsoft Word, Microsoft Outlook, Microsoft PowerPoint. I mean, there are so many things, guys. So what I'm saying is that the concept in every programming language remains the same. Now, since I have been teaching Excel VBA, so I have given you the example of Excel VBA. But if you do not know Excel VBA, it's fine. That's why I give you the Excel example also. Or in case if you know any other programming language, then also you can now correlate, right? So in Python also, we will not have this type of an environment where we will click on the visual, this button obviously, but there also we can actually go and use the libraries by simply writing a word called import, and then you will have to go and give the library name. Now which name? That is what basically you will go and learn, right? It depends your tutor, what he knows, what he teaches, and what you want to actually go and learn. Okay, for example, now I'm going to talk about the libraries. Now before before you start working with these libraries, your Python language, your Python programming language, you should know that, because this is the next step. Using the libraries means that external support you are getting most of the time, right? Inbuilt support is also there, but libraries generally, when we use the word, so we also say that external support. Okay, so these libraries are going to help you only if you already know how to write a program in Python, right? So let me first of all show you. So basically we will have all these chapters: variables, strings, operators, if conditions, loops, list, tuple, random, module, and then functions, and then you can see the projects are also there, then scope of the variable, and then the dictionary. Okay, so these are all the topics which I'm going to discuss one by one. all are intra related. You cannot skip anything. And believe me, when you go and start these, you will see the basic part first, and then gradually we are creating a lot of projects also which uses advanced knowledge of all these things. Okay, now once you are done with this Python, right, then you will pick the libraries. Then you will start picking the libraries, because library will give you the external support. Like for example, so if you go in the Google, and if you try to search that, okay, what are the libraries in Python, now you see there are a lot of libraries in Python. Okay, for example, if I can show you, I think, look at this here, guys. So see this, these are all TensorFlow, PyTorch, and then I mean there are so many libraries. Honestly, even I do not know. Okay, even I do not know these libraries. There are a lot of libraries which Python actually uses. You can Google it, but I like to actually, because I'm explaining you, so I like to give you a couple of the very famous libraries. For example, as I said that there is a library called TensorFlow, right? Now this library, why do you use this library? This library, it actually helps you in solving the complex, as I said that this helps you in solving the complex calculations, right, and especially in maths and physics. Okay, so this is where this library we use, right? Then there's a library called Beautiful Soup. Okay, so this library again, and this is basically what I'm also going to teach you in the next part, not in this part. This will help us in actually doing the web scraping, which is these days a very hot, hot profile job. For example, if you're a trader, now traders are everywhere in the world, right? If you're a share market trader, yeah, sometimes what you want to do, you want to pick some website, and you want to on that website there are a lot of stocks available, so you want to see that information somewhere else, like in Excel or maybe somewhere else, right? Or you want to take out some specific stock information, so how do you do that? Or maybe you want to download the files from there with just clicks. So that thing is called web scraping, but it is going to be done using the this library. So when you use this library, so basically you will say that something like this, import and the library name, and this library will be available, and then we can go and use the library functions, and for that we are going to actually use the Python also. So in this way, then there is a pandas, right? So panda actually is a library which is actually very much famous. You must have heard about this, I'm sure. And this is what I'm going to teach you in the next part, after we are done with all these fundamentals, right? So panda, actually why we use that panda, so panda is used for the data analysis, right? Now when I say the data analysis, as I said that data automation or data modification, whatever you want to do with that. Like for example, generally, even if you're a non-programmer, how do you maintain your data? People generally use the Excel, right? Or people generally use the these days, again there is a competitor of Excel, which is Google Sheet, so you use the Google, because Google also has its own sort of, though they do not call it Excel, but it is like Excel. I mean, here also you can use those functions, right? So this is where you manage your data, you do the analysis, you create the pivots, you create the charts, you sort the data, you append the data, delete the data, filter the data. You do so many things, guys, right? So that is something this library, the pandas library, can help you. So this is the library I'm actually targeting. So we are going to learn pandas and Beautiful Soup, how to work with these libraries, how to do the web scraping, and how to actually do the data analysis, right? Then there is a NumPy library also, which I'm going to teach you. Okay, not in this part, but in the next section, right? So NumPy is, again, it's basically called numerical Python. Okay, this is another library, right? So this library actually supports mathematical functions, right? So it can, again, wherever we have to use some maths, this library is very useful. Okay, so and then there's another library which is called matplotlib. Okay, this library is used for creating the charts whenever we want to actually visualize the data. Okay, so there are n number of libraries which Python actually supports, and that's why people are crazy about the Python. They want to learn the Python. All right, now many of the libraries even I do not know, because you can't know all the libraries. You have to choose your interest out. So like for example, there is a library, I just remember that which is used to for the games is Pygame, right? So this actually library is used for the games. So the point is that first you learn the how to write the code, how to use the Python, how to use the what are the loops in Python, what are the if conditions in Python, what are the list, what are the tuples, what are the functions, all that stuff you learn. And then once you learn that, then you pick the libraries and start using the libraries so that we can go and use their functions, the methods, and then we can easily go and do whatever we want to go and do. Okay, so I hope now you know that what we are going to do. So in this, in this lecture, I'm going to, this series, I'm going to cover all those topics which I have shown you, right? Afterwards, when in the part number 2, we will be talking about like how to do the web scraping, how to do the data analysis using the Panda and the beautiful soup libraries. Okay, so this is how it is. Hope this is clear. Now, another confusion point is that what is an IDE? Okay, what is an IDE? So I'm going to explain you this also. As a beginner, this is really creates a lot of problem. You see, first of all, this is called integrated development environment. Okay, pardon me for my spelling in case if I'm just writing, if I'm doing some spelling mistake. See, IDE means, let me explain you. Now, what is, if I have to write a formula called VLOOKUP, right, or maybe some formula in Excel, right? Obviously, it's I mean, when I say that, you find this very funny, but I mean, you need to have an Excel, right? Only then you can write all these functions, isn't it? But let's say, let me change my this question. What if I have to write a macro? I have to write the programming in Excel VBA, right? So you must have the Excel already installed in your system, so then you can go to the Visual Basic, and this is where basically you can write the code, right? So this is what, this is actually called the IDE for Excel. For VBA, you can say, right? Excel is the IDE for VBA, because if Excel is not installed, you cannot do the programming, right? Same way, you see there is a BI, there's a Tableau, all these softwares you go and download from the internet, isn't it? And then you can create your graphs, you can create your dashboards. For example, SQL Server, MS Access database, right? This is where you go and write the, in the SQL Server, you first install the SQL Server. There is a paid version, there is a free version, right? So it's like a platform where you go and write the program. Now in Python, definition remains the same, but the thing is, Python can be written in various IDs. It's not one. Like for example, VBA is written only in Excel. You can't write VBA anywhere else, right? Same way, if you go for SQL Server, right? You when you write the SQL over there, so you just go and use the SQL Server, particularly SQL Server, right? Of course, there are other databases also, but my point is that Python programming can be done in different type of IDs. There are different companies in the market who are selling their products. So generally, I'm just going to name few of the ones which are famous, but there are a lot of, right? For example, these are the actually the IDs. These are the IDs. You can Google it. You can see their images also, how they are looking. Spider, Jupyter Notebook, Pycharm, Python by default idle. Python also, when you install the Python, when you download the Python, Python also has its inbuilt IDE, which we call Python idle. Then there is a Sublime Text, there is a Thorny, which I really like. I'll give you idea about the Thorny. And then there is a Visual Studio Code, another product offered by Microsoft, right? So there are lot of, you can say a software, or you can say a canvas, a platform where you will go and write the program. Because to write the program, you need some place, isn't it? Otherwise, how will you write it? Isn't it? So for example, if you like to see, let's say that I go here and I say that Python idols images, for example. Okay, so let me show you this. Okay, so one second, Python. So if I go in the images, let's see that if I have some, yeah, look at this. Look at this, guys. This is a very basic one, right? This is, I was talking about, this is the Python by default software or editor, where you go and write the program. I'm not going to use this, right? But yes, whatever we will go and learn, you can use that in any of the IDs. They are all compatible. So people, have different tastes. They go with their taste, they go with their comfort level. Like, see this. Let me show you. Look at this, right? This is the Python idle. Python idle again means when you install the Python, this directly comes. You can always Google and how to use it, but we will not use it because it's a very basic one. Okay, let me show you something else. Okay, let's see that. So now let's say that I'm going to show you this Python spider images. Okay, so let's see that. Look at this now. Look at this. You see that this is very different from the Python idle. That is also IDE, Integrated Development Environment. This is also an IDE, right? But this is given by some different company, right? If you do the coding in Visual Studio, then this is pretty of, I mean, that's sort of the look it gives, right? So then there is a my favorite, which is Pycharm. We are going to do the coding in the Pycharm. Let me show you the Pycharm, right? See this, Pycharm also has this sort of window, right? So this is what we are going to do. And this Pycharm IDE is created by the JetBrains. Okay, so this is again one of the favorites among the programmers, right? And then there's another one which is again famous, but I'm not going to use it, but I'll tell you how to use it. I mean, if in case if you want to use it, you can use the code which we will create in our, this the course. So there is another one which is called Jupyter Notebook. Okay, Jupyter Notebook. So, and this is the last one I'm going to show you. Look at this now. This is pretty different actually. See this. You can always, I mean, let me click here if I can show you. Yeah, see this, right? So this program, somebody has written this program, right? And you can see this is the library they are using, Matplotlib. Okay, so they might be they might be creating some, visualization, data visualization. So this is how it is actually the look of this the IDE. Okay, this Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so when you're going to copy and paste the code from the Pycharm over here, well, almost every code will work. Okay, almost means, I mean, 99% of the code will work. Maybe one or two things which you may like to avoid, so that's very different thing. You can, I mean, just go and Google it, but otherwise the process remains the same. So my point is very clear that we will go and learn the Python using the what you call the Pycharm. Okay, so which IDE we will be using? So we are going to use the Pycharm. Okay, and then at the end of the session, I will brief you about this Thorny, and of course I will tell you about the Jupyter Notebook as well. The when you will have enough information, when you will have complete knowledge of the Python. Okay, so then I'm going to show you that. Okay, so these things you can do in the Jupyter Notebook, or in fact you can use any other IDE also. Okay, and yes, so Pycharm is going to be free. Okay, so it's going to be free, though it comes with the the paid version also, because that is how actually the companies actually earn, but free is also sufficient for us. Okay, so I hope that now you're getting the point that what we are supposed to do and what are all these things, right, guys? The last thing which people get confused. So now, since we have said that we will go and work with the Pycharm, so I'll tell you how to download the Pycharm. But then there is another thing which create confusion, because when you go on the internet, you often find people say that go to the Anaconda, download the Anaconda distribution. It is more beneficial. You can download the other packages, libraries from there, and then you can download the what you call this, our ID also, and the Pycharm also from there. So you see, this is something I'll answer at the end of the course, because I know this is not going to make any sense right now. Right now, what is going to make sense, that how to download the Pycharm, and now you already know that what is a Python, right? I mean Python programming, and after learning the Python programming, I can take the help of all these libraries. There are a lot of libraries you can Google, right? But these are the ones you most of the time you these are the ones you most of the time actually hear. right? Because most of the time people learn Python to create the softwares or to do the mathematical calculations, or to create the visuals, or especially to use the Panda library for the data analysis, right? So with that said, now in the next session we will be looking at the how we can download the Pycharm. Once we have downloaded the Pycharm, I'll tell you how to use it, basic things, right? And then you will start writing the code, and then you have to follow with each and every session. You have to practice it, you have to see first what I'm saying, then you have to repeat it, and in case if you get stuck, you can refer to the code. I'll see you then.